Welcome to A Pilgrim's Hearth, a podcast for the mom who needs a short rest in order to feel renewed for the journey. Join me, Kate Wilson, each week as we enjoy something good, true, and beautiful together in the same amount of time that we have to enjoy our coffee while it's still hot. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to A Pilgrim's Hearth. I'm happy you're here. I know sometimes it's hard to find even a few minutes in your busy day to step away and listen to something that's made just for you, the mom. I know it means you are sacrificing time you could be spending somewhere else, and I'm glad to get to be a part of your day even for just these few minutes together. I don't want to rush us, but I'll jump right in before the coffee gets cold. Today, I hope you'll join me as we think through a bit of theology. When I first considered using theology as a topic you and I could discuss together, I fought a small battle in myself over it. Who am I to talk with you about our study of who God is? Who am I to tell you how we should or could potentially think about a part of God that He has revealed to us in Scripture? And furthermore, how could this conversation make our hearts feel refreshed to carry on in a busy day with meals to cook and people to care for and questions to answer? But I think that perhaps it's in those very areas, and many more of course, that our thoughts about God matter. Maybe it's in the cooking of meals, the caring for dependent people, the answering the 7,000th question that our heart can actually be made a little lighter. Let me explain a bit more about where I'm coming from. I remember some snapshot memories of my childhood very clearly. These are the memories that there are no photographs of, no home videos, no one is talking about them. They're just memories that pop up at different times. One of them is standing in our bonus room in a house that looked a little bit like Snow White's cottage in a small town in Georgia and saying Psalm 139 over and over again. I can picture the spot on the wall that I would look at as I recited this psalm. I would repeat Psalm 139 2 times and then be able to check it off my school planner. I love to check things off my planner. In fact, if I was going to be memorizing something even now, I would probably write it in my planner and say it aloud 2 times a day. I might do that when we're done here, actually. You could join me if you like. Just jot down in your planner, recite Psalm 1. Do it 2 times a day for a week or two, and perhaps we'll both be surprised when we discover that it's tucked away a little bit in our hearts. Anyway, I remember saying it. I remember checking it off. I did not, however, have any idea the depths of the riches that I was storing away inside of me. Jump ahead 20 years, and all of a sudden, I am a 33-year-old mom standing in a courtroom when a judge pronounces me the mom of a 3-year-old boy with Down syndrome. As we walked out of the courtroom, I never would have guessed that I would spend the next 2 years trying to untangle what I had so wrongly assumed about Psalm 139. Psalm 139, if you are unfamiliar with it, says, "For you, that is God, knit me together in my mother's womb. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in a secret place." That's verses 14 and 15. As that verse popped in my head over the years, it was always when I was focusing on myself. But then, when I was looking at my son, whose shape of his eyes is the simplest of differences about us, I began to wonder what it meant that God actually knit people together in His image. After all, now I was seeing that sometimes in His knitting He adds in some stitches, that for all the wonderful and beautiful qualities that a person with Down syndrome has, it also makes life harder. Harder, most importantly, for them. It is harder for my son with Down syndrome to walk upstairs, speak with his voice, or use his hands the way he intends to than it is for my son without Down syndrome. So the question is asked, what does it mean to be made, or knit together, in God's image? It's in the very beginning of the Bible that this idea of being made in God's image actually comes up. Genesis 1:27 says that God created man in His own image. Dorothy Sayers, she's an author of a lot of books that people say are good, but I've not actually read them. She was friends with C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, though, so that feels like a good reference for me. Anyway, she once said, quote, "Is it his, that is, man's, immortal soul, his rationality, his self-consciousness, his free will, or what that gives him claim to this rather startling distinction? A case may be argued for all of these elements in the complex nature of man. But had the author of Genesis anything in particular in mind when he wrote? Is it observable that in the passage leading up to the statement about man, he is given no detailed information about God? Looking at man, he sees in him something essentially divine. But when we turn back to see what he says about the original upon which the image of God was molded, we find only the single assertion, God created. The characteristic common to God and man is apparently that, the desire and the ability to make things." End quote. Now, of course, she is not saying that creativity is the only element to human beings made in God's image, but it is a basic one. It is one that is foundational to all people. It is one that spans across generations, cultures, nationality, personality, and even ability. There's one other basic foundational element that I think this beginning of all beginnings shows us, that, like God, people are to be in community. I do not know what it's like for you today in your home, but sometimes when I look around my world that is full of 6 small people that are asking for another snack, or are even too young to speak yet but cry out when they need their diaper changed, it feels lonely. It feels like perhaps I'm in this motherhood alone, day in and day out. And yet, if I could get a good, slow look at these people, with all of their different needs and questions, I would maybe see that this is the community in which God has put me in. He made me to not be by myself. And then he made particular people who are also made in his image to not be by themselves. Between those two elements of God's image that we all bear, being creative and being made for community, it seems that every aspect of our mundane days might be touched after all. In the best ways, really, not in a way that asks more of me or demands that I work harder to train or protect my kids better, not in a way that wants my home to look better or different or social media level clean and aesthetically pleasing. To be made in God's image changes 2 things about my thoughts today. It helps me to see that whether it is washing the dishes, folding the laundry, picking out my outfit, or even writing a to-do list in my planner that I'll get to check off later, all of it is creating. It is making good things out of chaos, dirty things beautiful again, and even some pencil markings that I could write just a bit slower so they just look prettier. It also means I don't have to give in to that lonely feeling. I can look at these kids as this community of people that God has put me in today. Sure, I need to talk to adults too, and he'll bring them along throughout the week, but for now, for this morning, this is the community that he has put me in, and they bear the same image of creativity and need for community. The way the moon reflects the sun, or the mirror reflects what is happening with my hair, that's what I get to do to the creator of the world, who has always lived in perfect community among his Trinity. I do not reflect him perfectly, and not even fully understood or developed or always clearly, but in part I can know that my very living and breathing and doing the normal things of my day reflect a God who is good and true and beautiful. And I do not know about you, but as my coffee starts to cool and the morning starts to pick up speed, that idea puts a smile on my face that gives me a bit more joy for the day ahead. May we reflect him well today, friends. Not perfectly, mind you, but well. When he knit you together, me together, our children and all of their various needs and personalities together, he did it with himself in mind. He did it so that we could show the world just a little bit better what he is like. I hope that encourages you today. I hope it encourages you as you cook the meals and fold the laundry and answer the questions to know that our spending just a few minutes thinking about who God is and why it matters can give joy to press on in our journeys well. As pilgrims who leave the hearth this morning, I hope you leave just a little bit lighter.